Hi, my name is Hans-Peter and I'm interviewing Judy Walker in the village of Cumberland here today as part of the 3x2x8 process to stimulate and encourage and have fun with the sustainability conversation in the Comox Valley. So Judy, can you tell me a little bit about what you do here at the village?
Sure. Thanks, Hans. I'm a planner with the village of Cumberland. I also happen to be a registered landscape architect.
Oh, well that's great. And you've also got a vineyard. You're developing a vineyard and a winery in Comox where you live?
And my original degree was in honors agriculture, so good combination.
Yeah, I think so. So the village of Cumberland, pretty small place, 2,700 people, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've got some big projects kind of potentially coming on stream. So how big are these, like what does that mean for population growth, potentially?
Well, and I was just doing some calculations this morning and looking at all three projects. So there's three really big projects, and some of them have been around for probably like 3 or 4 years now. Mm-hmm. So in varying stages of proposal. And it looks like if you added them all up, sort of with residential units, you're looking at maybe 11,000 population increase. So here we're 2,700 and talking about 11,000. And we've often said at each time any one of those projects, if it went ahead and built out to completion, you'd have double the population.
Right.
So huge numbers, but as I always say, it's not all at once.
Right. But over the course of 20 years, I mean, this place has stayed pretty much the way it's been for 30 years. Like, it hasn't changed a lot. Yeah. Not since the mines closed. So, yeah, big potential impact on implication for what sustainability could mean to this community. So, have you been involved in the sustainability strategy?
Yes. Yeah. I was essentially the staff person that has been able to work on the sustainability strategy from the beginning. So not involved in the public workshops, but in all the senior staff projects.
And you've been identified as someone to talk to about the environment, parks, kind of that side of things. I've given you the draft goals and objectives, and you've had a look at those. What excites you about what's come out of that strategy?
I would say not particularly speaking to the environment part of it, but what excites me about the whole strategy, isn't this always a good way you carefully change the question, is that everybody's working together. This is a first to me for the Comox Valley, maybe in my time in the Comox Valley, or probably
you've been here for a while, right?
Yeah. So in 28 years, we haven't worked before. So all jurisdictions are working together, and this is just amazing. In fact, some of us said, well, we're not going to stop now. Even if some things weren't mandated or we weren't in part of a strategy, we're going to keep doing this. Right. So, as I said, nobody can stop us. Right. We're working together.
Well, it's good to hear because I mean I grew up here, and we've been doing stuff together for at least 15 years around these kind of issues, and that's exciting for me too. So. The next question in this 3x2x8 process is, what do you see as the challenges in implementing a sustainability strategy? And maybe particularly around the environment, parks, kind of things that you've seen.
I think probably for all of it, and maybe more particularly for the environment, is keeping it in the forefront, staying the course of having this stay important, because it tends to, economic downturn, suddenly the environment starts to phase out. People are just worried about the economy and not keeping that. So I think it's going to be hard probably for all the parts to keep it on course, keep it important. I think we need to just make sure that we're electing officials, pull them back to the sustainability strategy. Here's what we agreed to, here was the vision. We need to keep working on that and don't stray off it, because you know how many reports get produced and how many collect dust. Right. And just can't.
Okay. The third question we have is about what you, or what you see this local government body, and perhaps your department, how are you going to work with other local governments or community businesses or organizations to implement this stuff? Like, what are you doing, or what are you going to do? To bring sustainability on the ground in the Comox Valley.
Yeah, and I think probably one thing, I actually just thought of this morning, was thinking about if everything that we did in the village was run through a kind of a sustainability lens. Just a little bit, we've got complicated checklists and all sorts of things like that, but what if everything from how we recycle in the lunchroom, to what kind of juice containers the recreation department uses at an event, to where's Public Works dumping their broken concrete, and our buying policies and everything else. What if we set that example for how we look at things? And I don't think it's fair that we ask other businesses to set higher standards than we do for ourselves. And that's tough, because we've got failing infrastructure, we don't have a lot of money, we don't have a big tax base, and so things like that often cost money, but still, I feel like we need to set that example.
Yeah. So,
and something can change right away. You don't need to,
So give me a for example, like what could you walk out of here right now in your office do that would be different, that would contribute to...
Set up everybody's computer to duplex paper, so you never print a single-sided piece of paper again. I mean, just everybody can default that on their printers. I mean, it just seems silly almost, but we use a huge amount of paper, and that's just, infinitesimal.
Okay, well,
that's right. Not earth-shattering.
Right.
It's a start.
Anything else? Any other kind of doable things, or how you work with community organizations?
I think sometimes I think about community organizations, we get in the way a little bit, and I know they'd all probably agree with this, as bureaucracy can sometimes seem pretty heavy-handed. And Cumberland, in the past, it's been relatively easy. Group got together, wanted to put up a picnic shelter, off they did and go and build it, and it was pretty easy. And now there's more issues with liability, and things get a little more cumbersome. But I still think that we should look at more innovative projects. If a community group could come forward with something interesting, let's try it out. I once said in Comox, when I was working for the town of Comox, I wondered why you didn't do a pilot project on ripping up a few boulevards and planting vegetables. They do in Seattle. Just try it out. Like, let people try something out, and let them say, you know what, you guys, if it doesn't work, we're going to have to ask you to put it back. But just be a little more innovative and things like that.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for answering the 3x2x8 questions. Now I'm going to give you some space to, put your 2 cents into this, what we're calling the conversation about sustainability in the Comox Valley.
I think I probably covered lots of the general things. Now maybe I'd like to speak more to the environmental issues. I think I'm concerned that that for all this, the good document on the protection in the Comox Valley is we seem to be centering around the importance of mapping it, and I worry that people equate mapping it with protecting it, and I think we really need to move on past the mapping and don't get caught up in the mapping to protecting what we already know is sensitive. And in a way, we're talking about restoration of areas. We haven't even got to stopping the destruction of the important things. So a little more proactive, I guess, I see in that, is that maybe that comes with being here for 28 years and seeing so much change, is that there becomes this level of desperation in doing that. It was actually, it was Rich Haig, a famous American landscape architect, who once said he'd sort of gone past the point of doing meetings and writing reports and doing the nice thing, and he'd become this vigilante. And what he said, what we should be doing, he wanted to regreen America, and he said, we need to get trees in America, that's what we need to do. And he said, if I had my way, he said, Pampers would have poplar seeds and tree seeds embedded in them, so when people threw Pampers out the window, used Pampers out the window, it would start this seed base of trees starting to grow at the side of the road. He was just a renegade. But he was into action. But then he said, I've had, some things work, I want action now. It was great.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
and I'm looking forward to what kind of trees sprouting in our neighborhood.